So to respond to a lot of what people are saying, I know when I started doing content on One Piece, the card game, I was almost completely competitive on it. So now we're gonna actually go back into that because dropping side job to part-time, diving back into content creation, I actually want to dive right back in, start kicking A, taking names, you know the dig. So we are going to jump into some competitive oriented content, and we are looking towards the future, and that would be nationals. But to talk about nationals, we have to talk about set 5, because frankly, between now and January, there are going to be regionals, there are going to be treasure cups, online and offline, 3v3s even. But at the end of the day, a regional invite equates to a 2-round bye now once you get into nationals, because nationals is open invite. So for the most part, you just need to practice and be ready if you are going to take that trip. And that is what the next couple of videos about One Piece are going to be about. So strap in and we will get started. So just to say before we hop into the main content, we are this close to hitting 5,000 subscribers. So if you haven't joined the Unix fam already, think about doing so. We currently are covering One Piece, we're covering Dragon Ball Super, and soon to be Fusion World, its second kind of offshoot. We are covering Battle Spirit Saga. We may even cover Digimon. We do a lot of stuff over here. So if you want to join, just like the video, comment, help that engagement, subscribe. It's free and it helps me a lot. And then maybe go into the link tree and just see all the corners that Universe X has to offer, such as the Discord and the other channels. We'll be streaming Spider-Man 2. I'm doing figure reviews for Dragon Ball, my Dragon Ball channel. It's a vibe. And without further ado, let's hop into the video, okay? Sweet. All right, so like I said before, you have nationals in January and you have set 5 coming out in December. What this means is, because of the open invite policy they're doing for nationals, you won't need to gain an invite. If you don't, as long as you can forward the trip, you will just have to play in 2 rounds at the beginning of the tournament that people that already have an invite do not have to. So the set 5 meta is what you're going to need to look at. And I think without saying, the deck to beat, the one with the biggest target on its chest, is purple Luffy, and we're going to talk about that this video. Now I will say, I'm going to set it right here, I want to see this video get 100 likes minimum. I know this video is going to have over 1,000 viewers, so if only 10% of you guys like the video, it would go a long way. But with that being said, let's hop into that. Set 5, Luffy, he is a purple monocolor leader, 5 life, activate main. Once per turn, you may add 1 card from your top of your life to your hand. If you have 0 or 3 or more Dawn cards on the field, add up to 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and set it as active. All right, the thing about purple that has always plagued it since the beginning of the game, it has had some of the most devastating top end in the game. 10-drop Kaido, 9-drop Kaido. You have great mid-turn cards such as Blocker Queen, such as Starter Deck King. It has never had a problem having cards like that. The issue is that they are generally fat, and so if a faster deck such as Zoro gets under you, it normally can beat you into submission by the time you're able to play your relevant cards and you're fighting for your life for the rest of the game. The other thing is the minus Dawn effects, depending on the card, can potentially mess up your curve so that you could not sequence correctly, or optimally as you would like to, because of that. Well, this deck actually circumvenes some of purple's biggest weaknesses by being able to ramp as early as turn 2, and I mean that on turn 2 because there's never going to be a time where you're in your main phase at the beginning of the game with 0 Dawn. So if you're going first, you're going to be able to go take your first Dawn, then on turn 2 you get your second and third Dawn, and you're able to activate Luffy's ability to go up to 4 Dawn if you were in the correct matchup. Because let's be honest, there are going to be some matchups, if you're sitting across the table from Zoro, you do not want to just take a life for a 4-drop depending, unless it's Uta, but we'll get to that. Meanwhile, if you're going second, it's even better, because on turn 1 you're up to 2 Dawn, turn 2 you're up to 4 Dawn, you go to 5 Dawn, then you're playing some absolute gas. And on top of that, you are gaining a card from hand. You were going closer to death, but you were also gaining a card, and that's actually just insane. So we're going to talk about the cards that really do bring this deck together first, because they deserve the biggest spotlight. Very first one we're going to talk about is 5-drop Blocker Kid. He's coming out of this set as well, and he has a very, very, very good effect that helps pull this deck together. So everything about this card is good. 6,000 stats, it's good. It can be jet pistol, but whatever. 6,000 is great because a 2k saves him from a lot of attacks. He's a 5 cost, which, like I said, is a turn 2 drop if you were going second. But he is counter 1,000. Not a dead card, not a dead part of this card. Blocker, your turn once per turn, when a Dawn card on your field is returned to your Dawn deck, add up to 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and set it as active. This is one of the best effects in the entire deck. Just imagine you have your leader and you have 5 Dawn, right? And you activate this guy's ability. Like you play a queen. You have this on the field. I guess it's your turn 3. So you're at 7 Dawn minimum, maybe 8 Dawn if you want to use your effect again, but we're not going to get into that. You play queen with this guy on the field. Go down to 2 open Dawn. Then you're going to be able to put a Dawn back, draw 2 cards, trash 1 card. Then this kid is going to flip a Dawn back out, putting you to 3 open Dawn and not minusing you a single Dawn for the turn. This effect single-handedly makes this sort of scheme advantageous when it comes to what you're using your Dawn for, how you use it. It's absolutely amazing. This card is more useful than Kid was in the entirety of the manga and anime so far, and that's good. Useless Captain Kid, no more. Sorry, Useless Captain Mid, no more. But we're gonna go over to the following card, and this is the other cornerstone. It's actually crazy. This deck puts Kid on the map as a character. I swear, One Piece, the card game, has had Kid be better than he has ever been in any other format. He was goated in set 1. He's still the goated draft leader, or pre-release draft leader, and then he's still just like rocking it in set 5. But this one, sorry it's in Japanese, I can tell you what it says. He is a 7-drop, no counter, 8k, and when he is played or when he attacks, you can -1 Dawn to give your leader plus 1,000. Now we're starting to sit here and show you guys some of the true terror. This guy will turn your leader into a 6k leader until the start of your next turn. Meaning, swinging with this guy, and then your leader is a 6k to either press your opponent even further, or you can hit something on their board they swung with. Generally, if you already have Kid, the Blocker Kid, on board, you swing with this, you play it, you minus a Dawn, that Kid brings that Dawn right back, you attach it to Luffy. Luffy is now a 7k leader, and that is absolutely amazing. Not to mention, he gets mileage every single turn, and this deck has so many blockers that it is very hard to get rid of this guy unless you blow him up through effect. So with that being said, he is able to swing again and again and again, pressuring your opponent, and just Lord have mercy, when you have 2 of these guys out and then just 2 to 3 blockers, you feel almost invincible. Luffy will be at 7k base every single turn these guys are able to swing, and he's going to be able to then defend himself based off that number, becoming even stronger than Whitebeard in some of those cases. It is wild. And this guy is just pressure while he is protection, while he is offense. It is the Kid, the double Kid package that also goes with Luffy to make this deck go so hard. So the rest of the cards we won't have to explain as much because they are good, but they're not as game defining as these 2 kids along with the leader. But here we've got Law, and this Law comes from the starter deck. Now he is a 4 cost, 5k, 1k counter, so decent all around stats. He's a turn 2 play. He has blocker on him, so once again you're starting to see we've gone 3 cards in this deck. You've already seen 2 blockers and a card that gets this card's power up, your leader's power up. But this character says that when you play it, Dawn -1. If your opponent has 7 or more cards in hand, discard 2 of them. So this guy is going to be great because he is going to take your opponent's options away. Take away their ability to defend themselves with counter, take away their bombs. It really depends on what you get lucky enough to take. But the point is, he's a blocker, so he's going to protect that life total that could be dwindling if you need to ramp. He is also going to reduce your opponent's hand to make it easier to beat them down, but also stave off some of their forward progress if they're just building a handful of gas. Wonderful. Art's also amazing. Next, we've got Uta. Uta is going to be very, very, very nice. Uta is a blocker that can be played as early as turn 2, going first, because it is 4 and all you need to do is ramp once. Now that being said, I do have to warn you guys, if you play Uta that early, do know that you're essentially going to, if you are forced to use her effect, you're going to be negating her draw. So, or you're going to be negating your ramp because you'll have to put that Dawn back. Also, if you have the blocker Kid out and the blocker Uta out, also be wary. Your turn is an effect that has to happen on your turn. So if you use Uta's ability to tap something down by minusing 1 Dawn, blocker Kid does not register that as an effect that you can flip the Dawn back on because it is not your turn. So Uta is still a good card, very good purple card. Just understand that the synergy with the rest of the deck is not quite there with this card outside of playing it on turn 2 when you've gone first, which is normally not possible. Now, we're going to go over to one of the best cards in the game. It's always been one of the best cards, Queen Blocker. 5 cost, -1 Dawn, draw 2, trash 1, blocker, 6k. It's got the stats, it's got the blocker, but it's going to help you filter through your deck. It's an overall a break even because, you know, you play Queen, then you draw 2, then you discard 1. So you're still ending up with the same cards, but you're filtering 2, which is wonderful. The huge pickup of this is when you have Kid blocker on field, this does not minus Dawn. You play 5, you -1, you get 1 back. Active mode. Crazy. Very, very good card. And again, this is a deck where if you're going second, you will be able to play Queen on turn 2, and I will gladly play Queen any turn 2 I can. Even if they blow this card up via Jet Pistol, they just wasted almost their entire following turn to get rid of a Queen, and you might just play it again. There's plenty of threats in this deck. Another card I want to talk about, it's not like this is mind-blowing, however, this Frankovski, this just is a 5 cost, 4k, counter 2, that's the most important part. That's why you run 4 of them, because it is a 2 cost counter, or sorry, 2 counter, but Dawn X1, if you have 8 or more Dawn cards in your field, this character gains Rush, and that just means you have Rushers in this deck. That is just so flat forward easy. Tap 5, put a 6 Dawn under him. He is a 5k Rusher, and you could potentially put 4 more Dawn on him to make him a 9k Rusher if you want to just try to swing off for game right there. Very, very, very good. This deck so far is able to defend, it's able to filter, it's able to recycle. It even has some destruction in it. We'll get to that later, and you're able to rush. Like, come on, man. So here, speaking of destruction, we've got Pauly. Now, Pauly was a little weird. It's definitely a powerful card, but it's never been able to shine. Well, this one is different. You tap 5, pay 2. So it costs 7 total, but this is going to take you from 7 to 8 Dawn. Add up to 1 Dawn card from your Dawn, or to your from your Dawn deck that is active. Then if you have 8 or more Dawn in play, KO up to one of your opponent's characters that costs 4 or less. Little niche, but the whole point is you are able to play this on curve at 7 and then immediately go to 8. So you're just gunning for it. Not exactly the card that you want to play at 4, but he can destroy a very valid blocker, maybe a pesky swinger, something like a Rush Zoro. There's actually plenty of other cards that you can touch, but we'll get into that later. So Pauly is just a very good tech card to have. Some players are teching Magellan and the Impel Down core. I don't necessarily like the Impel Down in here, but you can play Magellan if you want to. On play, -1 Dawn, your opponent returns one of their Dawn cards on the field to their Dawn deck. Now, before, I felt some type of way about Magellan. Why? Because I felt like by the time you played Magellan in a normal purple deck, he has diminishing returns. The later in the game you play Magellan, the worse he is, because your opponent's going to be getting 2 Dawn back. However, the earlier you play him in the game, the better he is. Well, this deck ramps. You can play Magellan on turn 2 going second, and if you do so, your opponent has 1 Dawn, they pass. You have 2 Dawn, you pass. Your opponent has 3 Dawn, they pass. After doing their things, you go up to 4 Dawn, use your leader effect for 5, then you play Magellan and you -1 Dawn, and you set your opponent down to 2 Dawn, then putting them up to 4 in the next turn. You guys are even though you went first. And the funny thing about that is you go next turn, you don't technically lose a Dawn. You can Luffy's effect again if you want to, but then you can start harassing them with this 6K. And if they destroy it, you get to take 2 of their Dawn cards and put it back. So in this Luffy deck, Magellan is not necessarily a bad card because you can play it early, but that makes it kind of a, if you see it early game, go ham, buddy. If you don't, but yeah, that's how that one works. The next card and the last card I wanted to go over is Kaido from the starter deck. This is 9-drop Kaido. On play, Dawn -5. You can KO one of your opponent's cards with 6 costs or less, and then this character gains rush for the turn. It's a big body, and the whole thing you need to know about this is that when you play this guy, it is just very strong. You're gonna be able to tap 9, play him -5. If you have Kid blocker, he's going to immediately flip the cards up, and you'll be able to roll from there. So yeah, this guy is going to have great value. You'll be able to play him and have 2 Dawn that are untapped to either play like a chump blocker, or if you play extras, do that. This is a very strong asset in this deck. And when it comes down to it, Luffy is just simply able to play purple cards at an accelerated rate and refund Dawn. And those are the only 2 mechanics. I mean, go figure. How do you make a color good? Cover up its weaknesses. This is exactly what Luffy does. Now, I said this video needs to get to 100 likes. The moment it gets to 50 likes, I will start fully editing and releasing some gameplay from this deck so you guys can understand the flow of this deck. It is a slower deck, but on top of being slower, it's going to be able to stabilize extremely hard. Like when this deck really just gets moving, your opponent, it's hard to swing through it. On top of being hard to swing through it, the deck is incredibly good at applying pressure because things like Kid 7-drop Kid are just going to go very hard. They're going to be able to protect you while they swing. So overall, very good stuff. Now, what I do want to tell you guys is I'm wrapping up the video here. Like I said, if you like it, let me know. Like the video, maybe subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comments alongside your thoughts of what purple Luffy does in this deck. I want you to let me know what you want me to cover next. We can go over NL. We can go over Sakazuki. We can even go over like Betty. We can go over any of these decks in set 5 that you think you want to know. We're gonna get through them all eventually because this is officially the start of the Nationals primer. But let me know in the comments what you want to do next. If you want to show me some mad love, make sure you check the other videos this channel released, at least give it a like. And if you really want to go the extra mile, head on over to UniXDB and check out my figure reviews. I'm trying to branch out and do something new on a second channel. So yeah, that's all that. You guys have a great day, and I will see you in the next video. Later.